morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded today on Saturday, November 15th, 2025, and posted to our YouTube channel on Sunday, November 16th, 2025. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you'd like to join our Platinum membership and get involved in live streams I do on Friday mornings, Pacific time zone, answer a plethora of personal questions, also gives you access to hundreds of videos, including instructional videos in the archive. You can join our Platinum YouTube membership. The join button is on the front page of our YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. So, if you're new to the channel, really quickly, we gather questions for these shows from our YouTube channel. Under the post section on Mondays, my office team places a request for questions on Mondays, and that's where everybody places questions for these shows. My wife then goes through them, comes up with a representative sample. I think there are 66 questions in our countdown today, and that's where all these questions come from. A quick footnote, if you place questions anywhere else on our website or email the office or under any hot off the press announcements, none of those questions ever get seen. The only questions that ever get seen for these shows are the ones that are placed under that post, under the post section on YouTube that says request for questions. I know this question comes up all the time, and just want to make sure everybody was aware. So great to have everybody here and joining us on this kind of wonderful weekend here. So without any further delay, let's get going today on today's countdown. So question 66. Why did the Democrats fold and vote to end the government shutdown? They sided with the reasoning that enough time had gone by that the point regarding, healthcare reform was made. They didn't feel like going further was going to help with that, making that point necessarily. This was not the right timing, let's say, for both sides to get together to negotiate on healthcare. But what I'm seeing is they realized this raised enough of the discussion into the public sphere. And now they feel like they're getting better grounding. Overall, the country will have a better understanding of what's required for healthcare, how to negotiate it further. So it's kind of like raising the awareness of what's going on with healthcare in a very clear way. So I felt like this is the right time to say, okay, now it's time to move on to phase 2 and phase 3. So I'm just getting, they believe they achieved the meaningful effect for the time being. 65. There were 8 Democrats that sided with the Republicans on the continuing resolution to open the government. Were they aware of the resolution that was inserted in the CR and what they signed? I know there was one related to the hemp industry, maybe been some others. I do see that they realized everything that was in the CR, but believe that there's something that could be negotiated down the road. So yes, they understood what was in there, but again, weighing all options, believe that that was the right way to push forward. Is what I'm getting. So no surprises, they do realize what was in there. 64. If the House votes to release the Epstein files, will the Senate vote to approve the release? If the Senate votes to release the file, it then goes to the president to sign, and somebody says, I just can't see him signing it. What I see is that I'm not an expert here on politics, but what I'm getting is that the majority of the votes, or they achieve a majority that they can actually push through the release. So there's something here about, I'm getting that in some cases presidential signature is required, but let's say if an overwhelming majority approves it in Congress, that it can still be released is what I'm getting. So it looks like it'll still push through for release. Remember, my team has predicted, my angelic spiritual team predicted that actually a lot of information is going to come from offshore sources. Notwithstanding, I still see this release going forward and it not requiring the president's signature per se. 63, was the Democratic vote to stop the shutdown really as bad as it sounds? Will anything positive come out of it for the American people? I think we were just touching on this, but it raises the entire topic of discussion around healthcare reform, what Affordable Care Act was all about, ACA, what they call Obamacare. But I realized it raised all this collectively into the more of the mainstream center stage. So it did achieve. Remember, this is all rolls out in the Akashic records. This achieved the desired result to get this topic in the forefront. So yes, 62, will Aileen Cannon release the Jack Smith report? Does look like it's going to get released. Yeah, it does. Um, I know what it's all about. There's like almost like it gets taken out of her hands and it gets released. So it does look like it's going to get released. Other questions regarding Aileen Cannon. I know she's trying to obstruct all this, but for some reason, it almost gets snagged out of her hands and gets released anyway. Isn't that interesting? That's what they're telling me. Um, 61, Everett, Washington-based nuclear fusion company, power company, is it Helion, secured a permit to begin building the first commercial fusion plant near, is it Malaga, Washington, near the Columbia River. It will build a 50 megawatt fusion facility called Orion. Regulators determined that it would not have significant environmental impact. Will this plant actually be able to produce power without serious environmental impacts? Is this the kind of project you've spoken of previously, where humans and ET partners work together for the design of new technologies? So I see this plant will be built. Yes, extraterrestrial groups supply information to get these kinds of technologies put into place. I do see for a number of years here, there will be, so the plant will be built, but I do see some negative environmental impacts for a few years here till they get this, till this company, what I'm getting, is able to understand how to sustain the reaction. So there'll be a lot of trial and error going on here before they get to kind of a usable plant. And this may not happen till 2028, 2029 in terms of like getting online. But yeah, it looks like some negative impact here in the environment. It will be for a couple of years, gets addressed, and eventually it will produce the power they're claiming. But you got a number of years to go here before that happens. 60. The state of Tennessee has a special election on December 2nd, 2025, to fill a vacant congressional seat in D.C. held by former GOP Mark Green. That 45 won by 22 points in the last election, and I guess that district. Republican Matt Van Epps endorsed by 45 versus a Democrat Nashville social worker, Afton Ben, looks like. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Looks like Afton Ben. Will the Democratic candidate win the critical election? It appears the GOP candidate's going to win that election by a small margin. So there's something very extremely competitive here. Looks like in the very end, it looks like the GOP, that's what I'm just getting. Looks like the GOP wins that seat. 59. I've heard you say the transition from life to death deals with a change in dimensions. What type of dimension is heaven? Do you have to learn to prepare for that dimension? No preparation is required. It's a dimension that actually everybody's very familiar with. You might even call it the home dimension. It's a dimension that moves faster than the speed of light. There's just why a lot of individuals don't perceive it, but you don't have to prepare for it. Your soul's very comfortable with the transition, and it happens as part of the natural occurrence of the way the universe works. So remember, both your birth angels help guide you across, as well as a lot of time family members, friends help guide you across. So it's a very natural experience, but you don't have to prepare for it. I think sometimes people say you got to cram for finals. No, you live your life. Make sure you're kind of doing, remember, you're managing speed, scope, and scale as you move through your life, but you have to prepare for that transition. 58. Now that the Epstein files are starting to be released, what will this mean for 45 and his supporters? And are the releases going to continue? Yes, this is actually part of a much larger swell of information coming worldwide from many offshore groups. You're going to see a lot of information coming here that is really going to erode in a very big way the base of the GOP. So you're going to start seeing a big separation coming here of GOP, what were GOP supporters of the 45 administration, moving away, distancing themselves. That's for sure. Absolutely. 57, do ETs incarnate on their own planets with purposes like we have here? How different are the purposes from ours? So they have very similar life path purposes. Everything in the universe has a life path blueprint or purpose whenever you reincarnate. So, but their life path purposes are much more based on, uh, let's say, the movement forward of their own species, so much more on the love side than the fear side. If you look at what's going on here on Earth in the Earth School, a lot of people delve in the fear side of the equation. It's jealousy, it's anger, it's hatred, it's all the things that people delve into to try to make themselves better or do it for themselves, or it's more centric on themselves. If you look at extraterrestrial groups, they're actually looking at ways to kind of expand their species, their civilization, move out into the universe, other galaxies. So it's a much different focus. Their life plans are a much different focus. They do not have the same fear component that a lot of humanity has, Homo sapiens sapiens, currently living here on Earth. 56, about 20 years ago, I was taking a late evening walk with a family member. It was very clear, no clouds with lots of stars. I don't recall if the moon was visible that night. As we looked up to watch the stars, we observed a milky, translucent, dish-shaped object which looked to be about the size of the moon, but definitely not the moon, floating above us. It moved silently across the sky. We could see the stars through it. What did we see? This was most likely a UAP. This is a UAP slash UFO, and this is a mothership coming from one of a number of star galaxies. Palladium looks like the star galaxy it came from here. But this is not an uncommon experience. I know it may be very rare for you. These situations, I think you saw this, you said 20 years ago, these can be very, very commonplace going forward here. What you observe would be very common. It's all part of the full disclosure rolling out. 55, are everyday people doing enough? If we are caring for our families, neighbors, but not active in demonstrating, arguing, and engaging in politics, is that enough? So, everyone does what they're led to do, right? So everybody has to listen to their guide team, their angelic team. Do what you think is correct. The most important thing we talk about all the time, and my team brings this forward all the time, stand in your truth, whatever that is. That might be a simple conversation with a neighbor or somebody around you, but stand in your truth and then allow that to propagate out. If you feel compelled to get involved in more collective approach, maybe it's a march somewhere or something of that nature, or it's a conference or a speaking event. Do it. Please do it. That is actually, it becomes part of your life path. But do what you're compelled to do while standing in your truth. That's the key element. That's in the center of it all. That's where it all starts. 54. I understand and appreciate the idea of Earth being a school, but I don't understand why, if we're infinite beings from a realm where only love exists, why do we need to grow and evolve from the lessons we learned here? So all souls evolve in an evolutionary process. Just because, let's say, you go and visit a master in some way. And I'm talking about, let's use a conventional earthbound example, a master, an orchestra or some sort of a symphony, and you're actually observing, masterwork in progress and people that execute it. Does that mean you walk away with all of that direct experience? No, it enriches your life, but you have to go through the growing experiences. So the universe set up Earth and other planets, other galaxies as schools for elevation of the soul. That's the way the universe is laid out. It's all part of natural evolution. Remember, everything in the universe is evolving. Doesn't matter what we point to, whether it's Homo sapiens sapiens, it's physical experiences, it's planets, it's galaxy, the universe is expanding at an infinite rate. Everything is evolving. Part of soul evolution is to come back and experience new things that contribute to what's called our soul DNA, and then it grows from there. 53, about 14 years ago, I was living in Toronto and also going through the most difficult time of my life. One cold gray winter day, I was walking through a neighborhood with a friend. We stopped at the intersection, and as we waited for the crossing signal to change, a woman on a bicycle rode by us. As she did so, she looked at me, smiled, and greeted me by name. I had no idea who the woman was, but she left me filled with a profound sense, comfort, and hope that this dark time would pass, which it did. Since then, there are two interesting facts that have always stood out to me about this event. Number one, my friend never saw this woman. And two, a minute or two before we reached the intersection, absolutely all traffic and pedestrians vanished. Who was this woman and what happened? This is actually one of your guides making an appearance to you. Now, not to be confused with what they call earth angels, which are physical Homo sapiens sapiens that run around and help. This is actually one of your guides creating a complete apparition so that you could see them, you could experience them, trying to get a message across to you. You know, a lot of times in a loving way, we can be a little dense and we don't get the information that our guides and angels are trying to tell us. They felt at that time that was the most direct way to get you the message to give you comfort. Guides and angels will step in a very physical way, showing themselves as apparitions every time we go through very difficult times in our life. They know that, you know, it's almost like it gets pushed to the limit and they go, okay, this person really needs something beyond what they experience every day. And so we've got to bring something forward to them that they'll absolutely believe and trust and understand, and it will resonate with them. That's the experience you had. That was one of your guides coming forward. 52, where are the so-called billions of dollars in tariffs funds? Where's the money? Well, whatever's coming in is going into the Treasury, the general fund, right? But it's my understanding that has to be appropriated by Congress. Look, there's a lot of a shell game going on right now around money in the Treasury, what's going on in Congress. But effectively, that money looks like it's flowing into the Treasury in some way, but not being allocated because somehow Congress has their hands tied, or not, not being allowed to even kind of delve into where should the money go, how we distribute it. It's a lot of chaos going on. 51. Dr. Bernie Siegel, a traditionally trained pediatric surgeon, adopted successful self-healing, love-supported, fear-reducing techniques for patients of all ages. He felt that we can draw our innate power to heal ourselves and depend much less on external aids like medication and surgery, essentially a spiritual approach to health maintenance. Will we see clinics based in our advancing spiritual development, so less dependent on external technologies and manipulation? You're going to see a lot of clinics develop over time here, over a number of years here, that will integrate spiritual techniques, spiritual technology, so to speak, with westernized medicine. Remember, a lot of information, even the extraterrestrials delivered to doctors and science, medical industry, not only spiritual, like if you look at genetic engineering, that's not all spiritual. So the answer is yes, there's going to be much more of a East meets West approach to medicine. It's going to take years to roll out here. Years means, 3, 4, 5 before it really starts getting traction to the masses. It's already started. I think some of the major medical groups are utilizing types of spiritual approaches. Now, this person's asking about Dr. Bernie Siegel, so I guess they're just using them as a kind of a representative sample. So the spiritual approaches won't be done to the exclusion of other types of Western or medical approaches to healing. 50. Are there any upcoming cures for the varieties of arthritis in the next several years? Well, yeah, I guess you have rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis, right? Not a doctor, but it looks like both of these are going to have significant developments in the next few years here using genetic engineering. So both of them, I'm not sure. I'm sure they're related some way. What rheumatoid arthritis, RA, and OA, osteoarthritis. But looks to me like I'm getting from my team. There's some trials going on right now in 2025 around both of these cures. So we're only a few short ways away from some pretty dramatic cures in these areas, or ways of addressing it. Within just a few short years, that means 2, 3, 4 years, big breakthroughs, but I see big testing going on right now, is what they're showing me. Yeah. So good progress coming in this area. 49. I've always wondered how we started with so few souls on the planet, and yet we have billions today. Do they split off from existing ones? Are new ones created from the one source, one force? No, so all souls, everything in the universe was created essentially at the same time. Souls are energy. Not all souls were activated at the same time. So there's a distinction there. You can create a soul, but maybe it does get activated. That's what the one source, the one force, I've heard through my team. So, yes, I mean, as you go through, as time rolls out here, as time rolls forward, more and more souls get activated. That's true, but they're not necessarily separated or cut from another soul. Every soul is unique in the universe, like a drop of water in the ocean. Okay. 48. There were 300 piles of cremated remains found in Searchlight, Nevada, recently located on the land that is managed by the Bureau of Land Management. Nobody knows where they came from or who these people are, who are these people, and who did this. I get this was done by a mortuary facility that was in financial trouble. So, some sort of major financial distress to the mortuary company or cemetery company, whatever this is. And so that was their way of trying to, handle the problem. So I don't get this was nefarious or, related to like a major serial killer or something. They're showing me this is like an economic problem with a business, and then they try to do something to try to get out or deal with their financial difficulty a different way, which is how they ended up, I guess, removing these cremated remains and then putting them in that location. So it's coming across like financial enterprise related to me, financial difficulty that caused this. 47, I once received blows which knocked me over from what I assume was a prankster spirit. Do these spirits remain pranksters or can they choose to learn and progress? How do they pick their targets? So prankster spirits don't behave in that way. Again, I'm not a doctor, but there's something else going on here. Whoever asked the question, prankster spirits don't necessarily come up and knock you across the head. They do. They could throw things across the room. Witness the fact I've seen your bricks thrown across a room. They don't necessarily. They might tap you or that kind of a thing. But what's being described here is a blow on kind of the knock on the back of the head. That's typically not what they do. There's something else going on here. Prankster spirits do evolve. They're lower level energy. It's almost like having kids in kindergarten that don't want to graduate and go into first grade or second grade. Yeah, they do evolve as time goes on. But what's being described here, from my team perspective, is not coming across as a prankster spirit. There's something else going on here. Okay. I'm not a doctor. 46, will Americans get the $2,000 refund that 45 has promised or any money back from the tariffs? I don't see this taking place. I see a lot of loopholes for some reason, not being able to get it cleared, not being able to transact. Does not look like it takes place. Interesting enough, I'm getting that a few people might get it. This is interesting. It's almost like you have the whole population of the United States, obviously, but maybe a very small handful of people get it. And somebody tries to point to that and say, look, I did it. But it's not real. Like something else going on there. So the massive distribution of $2,000, do not see that taking place. 45, my daughter put down her female abused shepherd rescue in November of this year. She now has an 8-week-old female shepherd who, after 2 days, knows all commands and movements, personality, and smell are the same as her old shepherd. Is it possible for a dog to reincarnate that quickly and come back to the same owner? Yes, all animals can come back very, very quickly. They don't always. A lot of times they'll stay with family members on the other side, their family members and your family members. But in this case, I can tell you that this particular question is being asked. This particular shepherd did come back very, very quickly, and animals can do that. It's all part of their life path as well, too. 44, can our guides and angels read our minds? Absolutely. That's how they know how to help you. So you're never getting away with anything in life. Anybody that thinks they're getting away with anything in life, as they say, has another thing coming. They'll find out. 43, so many psychics are predicting a huge event that humanity will come together over. Will the appearance of our friends, the extraterrestrials, be the global event that shifts all of humanity onto the new timeline or paradigm? Yes, full disclosure is going to be very dramatic for the human race, the worldwide, because it's going to turn on its head everybody's conventional understanding of what humanity is all about, evolution, religion. A lot of things are going to get turned on their head, but in a good way. It's almost like, turning on a light in a dark room. Everybody thinks they know what's going on. Let's say at a dark gymnasium. Now you turn the lights on. Oh, I'm in a gymnasium. Look, there's stadium seating. So yeah, this event, full disclosure, will be one of the major events. I do feel that we're going to see some other, I would call it nature and weather events. They're going to be very trying for humanity, major earthquakes. I don't want to scare anybody, but there'll be major earthquakes and there'll be major solar flares. It's not going to cause 3 days of darkness. Put that out there. A lot of people always ask about that. But yeah, major, earth-based events along with full disclosure in combination is going to cause kind of that, really give humanity a big jolt and help with that reset. 42, will Chuck Schumer step aside before his term is up? And if so, will AOC take his seat or another Democrat? I don't see these two events actually taking place. That is Chuck Schumer stepping aside right now, and I don't see AOC, I guess, take his seat. No, so I don't see either one of those two events taking place. 41, Graham Plattner, looks like, who is trying to unseat Susan Collins in Maine, has had some controversy over some Nazi tattoos and some racist comments he made in the past. Is he being honest about changing his thinking and is not that man anymore? I get he's putting on a false front. So whatever is being said here is not the complete truth, okay? It's like a false front going on here. 40, what does the future hold for Taiwan regarding threats from China? Do you see military action against them in the short or long term? Over the next number of years here, I see a lot of altercations between China and Taiwan, but I see the world community being involved as well. So I don't see a takeover of Taiwan. I see a lot of aggressive action from China and a lot of action by other countries in support of Taiwan. So there's some conflicts coming up here, but it will never result in the takeover of Taiwan by China. But yes, right now, and I think it's being brought on because China perceives that the 45 administration is weakened. So that's part of what's going to create these conflicts. 39, I'm wondering if humans are ever aware that they are coming to an end of their life plan. I've lived a nice life, done most of the things I wanted to do, traveled most of the places interested me, raised a wonderful family, and so much more. As I get older, I find my interests are fewer, I travel less, the less things I want to do. As my world gets smaller and smaller over the years, I can't help wonder if approaching the end of life is the plan. Are healthy, happy humans ever aware when they are coming to the end of their life plan? Yes, as a matter of fact, many people are aware when they're coming towards the end of their life plan. This can happen for older people, younger people, and sometimes you'll see things like individuals will go around and out of the blue may say, "I just want you to know I love you. I love everything you've done for me." Like maybe very out of character for them, but something in their soul is saying, "I may be leaving soon," and so yes. There's a perception. Our souls know when our departure date is coming up. Now, I don't want to scare everybody that when somebody comes around and says, "I want you to know I love you," and no, it's not always the case. But there are very unique circumstances people can identify in their life where maybe somebody was always kept to themselves, never really talked, and also they're coming around saying how much they love everybody and miss them and what's up. So, and actually, your soul perceives what's going on with their soul. So it's like kind of a middle line communication channel that opens up from soul to soul, which you kind of get that information as well. 38. My question is, will 45's opening up nuclear tests in the area of Nevada cause more health problems to Americans and people living in the area, like cancer and mental health problems? Well, it is going to cause some more problems in that area. So I think everybody's going to have to take greater precautions about when you go outside and what kind of testing is being done. Yeah, I mean there are these are all part of the problems that are going to be created in that area of Nevada with testing. Okay. 37, will baby formula and prenatal vitamins in the US ever strictly be regulated by the FDA and held to a better standard? I get by the end of next year, 2026, that there's going to be like really firm critical standards. This person's asking about baby formula and prenatal vitamins. Um, I think the FDA is already like screening baby formula pretty heavy, but not prenatal vitamins because one may be considered a critical food and the other one's considered like just a supplement. But it looks like both of them are going to get critical regulations by the end of 2026, is what I'm hearing. Okay. Very six, is the law of attraction a true force in the universe? Is it possible to manifest negative things in your life, such as illness or disease, simply by worrying about it? Yes, because the law of attraction is essentially the manifestation principle. We all create our own reality. That's true. If you believe something and you think about something every day, you will bring it to you. You create your own reality. Simple example is if you walk around and you're fearful of running out of money, fearful of going into bankruptcy, and it's always on your mind, you put that energy out there, not just for yourself, for the people around you. They wonder why you're so worried. They lose confidence in you. But it's creating that reality. But yes, law of attraction is closely associated with manifesting, the manifesting principle. And whatever you focus on to manifest, you will bring it to you. Okay. Very five. Hello, Sterling and team. What is deja vu? I've heard you have it when you've been in a place or situation before, which makes me wonder if it deals with past lives, or is it like remembering your life path, like confirmation you're where you're supposed to be? There are three fundamental reasons for deja vu. One is time will jump ahead by a fraction of a second. So you actually experience that event just before it happens. That's number one. Number two is you knew it was going to happen just before you came down. So, as part of your life path blueprint, you knew that you're going to be in this state or that place for vacation. That would happen. So, that's essentially it's on your life path plan, and you knew that. The third reason is it does ring back to, let's say, a prior reincarnation. So maybe 6 lifetimes ago, you spent a lot of time in Italy, and now you remember when you went back. There's like three fundamental reasons why deja vu occurs. 34, is it actually important for us to see justice carried out in our lifetimes in light of all the clearly illegal events and things going on in our government, or is that concept less important than we think it is and a test of our patience and ability to allow the flow of life to work through everybody? Is the latter concept, or that no one ever escapes justice, true, or is that just because we focus on that? So, these are all interesting concepts. No one ever gets away with anything. That's very important. And I actually did some instructional videos up on our YouTube channel, up under the Platinum membership, on spiritual justice. But that concept is all about no one ever escapes what's on their life path, the lessons they're supposed to learn, and actually the life review process that you go through when you cross over. So, when you put too much energy towards, I need to see that person get justice, you absolutely are giving away a lot of your personal power. Doesn't mean you don't want to stand in your truth and see justice done. But when you focus on that, I have to see that, I have to see that, I can't rest until I see that person, they get their justice. You're giving away a lot of your personal power. And that's the opposite of what spiritual justice is all about. Spiritual justice, understanding things work for a reason, and no one gets away with anything. 33, can extraterrestrials see and or visit us in our dreams? Yes, all extraterrestrials are interdimensional. What does that mean? That means they can move through various dimensions. The 3D dimension here on Earth, the 5D dimension that's heaven, right? Moves faster than the speed of light, other galaxies. But yes, when you astral travel, a lot of time when you dream, you don't always astral travel when you dream, but if you astral travel, you're out in that other dimension, that ether that extraterrestrials move through all the time. So it's like moving into like Grand Central Station. Yes, you can see them in Grand Central Station. You can. 32, on Monday, November 10th, a Utah judge ordered the heavily gerrymandered district map for the state of Utah is dissolved, and a new map previously voted into law by Utah citizens be put into place immediately. Well, the order for this new map hold up against Republican onslaught? And will it be in place in November 2026? So I get the map voted on by the citizens will be upheld and will be in place by November of 2026. I've also, my guides have also predicted that Utah would be a tipping point in the nation, almost like a ground zero for a lot of restructuring and reversing adversarial gerrymandering to put balance back into politics. So, essentially Utah, I see is going to be like ground zero for a lot of things happening, a lot of change. Not that, notwithstanding California is doing a lot, but Utah is going to play a very important role here. So, looks like I guess the map previously voted on by citizens that was seeing here will stand because they're saying Utah judge ordered the heavily gerrymandered district maps dissolved. Right. So the original one that's I guess more in favor of the Democrats by citizens will stand. 31. Hi, Sterling and team. Is there such a thing as soul fragmentation? If this person's referencing leaving a portion of your soul in heaven, no. Souls don't fragment. Now, souls are very expansive, and a lot of times they expand even beyond the size of your physical body, your soul energy, your soul DNA. But souls do not fragment. Sometimes people bring this topic up because they say, well, if somebody reincarnates, how do they communicate then? It's done through what are called relay points in heaven, but that's not because there's a fragment of your soul in heaven. No. So in that way, souls do not fragment. 30, will the Democrats or the Dems' momentum and support for Democrats representatives falter now because some Dems side with GOP to end the shutdown? No, in the long term, I'm not seeing the same large negative effect. This is all par for the course, as they say. This had to get done, had to create a whole dust up with the shutdown in order to kind of raise the whole topic of healthcare. So no, it looks like it's not going to, in the long term, it's not going to have a major negative impact on the focus on democratic strategies, democratic candidates. The country's had enough so far, really reaching the breaking point, which is a good thing. A lot of times you have to reach a breaking point in order for significant change to take place. 29, if the veil is getting thinner to the other side and people are waking up more and more, will this knowledge change the way we learn our lessons going into the future? Being awake makes me feel like we should be able to move through our lessons faster. So, not necessarily. It has a lot to do with how people take in information, how they bring it in, and they understand it and they accept it. So, for example, you could be exposed to information that's truthful, but do you do believe it right away? So it's interesting. Yeah, having the veil thinner allow more people to communicate with the other side, have angelic conversations, the way a lot of people do now. But will that mean people will learn faster? Really depends on the person. How fast, how long does it take for them to accept the information, take it in as their truth? That's the key. 28. Will Ukraine still prevail even though Russian forces appear to have recently encircled a major city in Ukraine? I do see in the end, Ukraine, there's going to be a peace agreement here, but my team has always predicted roughly about 8% of Ukraine territory will be given up as part of the negotiation with Russia. So, yes, I mean, in that sense, Ukraine's going to hang on certainly to the majority of Ukraine. But there is that 8% factor there, where it's still going to be with Russia. 27. Do ET children go to school for educational purposes? Do they have recess and play sports? Yes, they function very similar types of environments that Homo sapiens sapient humans do. They do have school, they do have education, they have family units, they have grandparents, they celebrate, occasions. So there's a lot of similarities there. Remember, but I think people or humanity doesn't really understand how to relate to this yet because everything they do kind of exists in environments that doesn't have all the fear. A lot of what happens down here on Earth, even around education, what you can teach people and what is real knowledge, there's big fear elements in that down here on Earth. And so it's a lot easier process for many extraterrestrial groups. But yes, children go to school and they raise and they mature and they have family units as well, just like we do. 26. 45 has pardoned criminals that were loyal to him, such as the January Sixers, and now Rudolph Giuliani. Will these pardons be reversed once it is proven that he cheated in the election? I don't see the federal pardons being reversed. I see many of them are going to stand. But remember, there are a lot of state charges coming up that will convict many of these people. So I don't see the federal pardons being reversed. They're saying it's not going to happen. 25, ETs when they reincarnate and come back with no memory of past lives, or do they retain memories because they are so advanced? They have a greater understanding of past lives, the way the universe works, and reincarnation. And they also understand there's no death, there's a continuum of life. So in that way, they build a bridge better to past lives and to where they've come from and who they are. So in that way, their advanced knowledge of the way things work in the universe allows them to come back with better memories, kind of start from a more firm playing field, a more firm foundation as they start each life. That's true. 24, will there be a reversal of U.S. support for Israel soon? And will the ties with CIA and worldwide espionage entities be disbanded? I don't see any major significant, let's say, withdrawal of support for Israel at least for their 5 years, but it could go as long as 10 years here. It looks like there's still some fostering back and forth of intelligence information and support and even intelligence technology with certain firms that are there. But that does not look any kind of like a kind of a pullback of U.S. support for Israel, at least for 5 years. And then I would say it starts to shift as you go 5 to 10. So 5 years from now, as you move out to 10. 23, high strung team. You have mentioned that full disclosure will take place soon, but can you give us an approximate time when we can expect this to happen? So it's already started to take place right now. See, people don't realize it. It's going to take a while to get completely in the mainstream, but the number of extraterrestrial ship sightings, people seeing apparitions, people observing things, it's coming. And even some of the technology is leaking out around genetic engineering and different types of nuclear power technology, moving towards free energy. All these things are like, so where did this come from? The full disclosure has already started. It's going to take a few years here. What's a few years? 1 to 2 years for a lot of the full disclosure to kind of come into the mainstream. It's already started. There are a lot of news reports, a lot of military sightings, footage being shared. It's all coming. 22, regarding animals, do they have guides and angels? For instance, do dogs have guides? Are their guides the same species? Do cats have another cat as their guide like humans or guides do? Or do they have only angels protecting them? All animals have guides and angels. So they do have a birth angel that keeps them out of trouble, keeps them from passing away if it's not their time. And they have guides. And the guides can be in the form of their species or not. Animals are from the angelic realm. They see things much more spiritually. So in the same way, they don't have to see a like species, if you will. If they're a cat, they don't have to have a cat guide. They'll see it as could be another human guide. So, but they still see it as guide energy. So it doesn't have specifically related to their species. That's true. 21, will the Epstein files be released and the nature and extent of 45's role be revealed to the public before he dies? Yes, the avalanche is coming. It's already started. You're going to see a much even bigger avalanche of information coming this coming week. 20, high sterling, are there Homo sapiens sapiens in other worlds? Yes, but not in the same sense. So, if you look at how souls, right, when a soul gets activated, a lot of times souls will get activated as an extraterrestrial first time around, or will eventually become Homo sapiens sapien. If you started off as an extraterrestrial soul, if you will, a lot of times, yeah, you might be Homo sapiens sapien here on the planet. You might have evolved through, hundreds or thousand lifetimes. But then if you reincarnate, you can go back to other areas of the galaxy, but you won't necessarily be Homo sapiens sapien. You may move back to your former extraterrestrial kind of DNA. I do find that some souls that are Homo sapiens sapien here, if they do reincarnate in other areas or other worlds, other planets, they have extra ways of adapting to that environment. So it's not quite Homo sapiens sapien. I think that's what the question is being asked. So it's like you're in other areas. If you're a soul, if you start off extraterrestrial, going to be extraterrestrial in some form or species, other worlds or planets. If you're Homo sapien sapien here and you go to other planets, you're going to be modified Homo sapien sapien, but be able to exist in those environments, those more extreme environments. 19, what is the best way to help raise the collective's vibration? Watch all of your thoughts because every thought you have is like a boomerang out to the world, out to the universe. And they collectively, they collect together and form almost like big icebergs on the planet, figuratively speaking. Watch your thoughts. That's the most important thing. 18, when someone is cheated on by a spouse or experiences assault, it all alters so much. Is that something that would be put on a life path blueprint? Yes, everything we experience is on our life path blueprint. And some might say, well, why would I experience that kind of trauma? So we all experience traumas of different forms, medical, physical, emotional. But the reason, traumas are the most important life lessons we learn. And the reason we do that is actually we're here to help others. So the traumas you go through, as you work through it, you get on top of it. Now you've got the lesson fully kind of solidified in who you are. Then going out to the world and helping other people with those types of traumas, that's your gift back to the world. But that's why it works. That's kind of the yin and the yang of the universe. And so they are in your life path. 1745 has hired Heather Honey, it looks like, who played a part in trying to overturn the 2020 election. He is also trying to add new voting machines that can be manipulated. Do you think he will be successful in this process? I do see that, yeah, what she pushed to overturn this, right? 45 is hard, Heather Honey. I do see she pushed to overturn the 2020 election, but there's other forms of like new technology that are going to be put in place here, blockchain, distributed ledger technology. So that's going to like counteract in a much better way to audit election results. So the question is, do you think he'll be successful in this process? I'm asking about Heather Honey here. But whatever's going on with her, Heather Honey is part of election security. Yeah, U.S. election security. But I still see blockchain distributed ledger technology coming in here. So that's going to counteract any cheating that's going on. 16, I'm curious, when will we see large scale availability of lab grown meats and how that will transform how we consume our food and deal with hunger and food scarcity? Not going to see wide distribution of lab-grown meats. So that's the answer here, right? Lab-grown meats to like 2035. That's like a decade out, 10 years. A lot of testing and evaluation is going to be going on here. And, lab-grown meats are going to end up in every area of society, in the supermarket and fast food chains. There will be lab-grown meats, but it looks like it won't be completely distributed in a mass way until we get more closer to like 2035. 15, 45 and his regime, right, have announced a new 50-year mortgage plan and 15-year car loans. FHA also waived having a 660 minimum credit score to qualify for a mortgage. Will this style of predatory lending take place or will it be stopped? I do see it's going to roll out over the next 1 to 2 years here, but it's going to be a colossal failure and lead to a lot of bankruptcies and a lot of retraction of a lot of these loans. So it looks like over 1 to 2 years here is going to roll out and catastrophically fail and then be retracted. So these policies will go away. 14, who or what is behind MTG's and Tucker Carlson's sudden change of tune and going against MAGA and 45? Are they opportunists or is there a bigger play here? They understand 45's time is very limited and they're trying to get on what they feel is the strong side of the aisle or whatever's going on here. But they see deflation of a lot of 45's power and the administration starting to collapse. And they're really trying to save themselves. 13, Republicans included a nationwide THC ban in the funding bill. Nearly all hemp-delivered THC products in the U.S. will become illegal in late 2026 under legislation passed by the U.S. Senate late Monday. Will this pass? I do see it's going to pass because who's ever behind this wanted more of an industrial approach to hemp growing, so using it for fabrics or whatever this is. So there's going to be a time period here of a year, I think it's going to be as long as 2 years, but where this bill will pass, they're going to pull back distribution, I guess, of hemp products or THC products that might be sold in retail stores or gas stations or something. And then, like another year out, year and a half, they're going to retract it, it'll come back again. So, a move more towards industrial applications for hemp and then coming back to retail applications again, year and a half out, something like that. 12. Today, a retired judge stated that 45's first 100 days in office, everything he signed was illegal. The Supreme Court is complicit with the blanket immunity for past transgressions and future ones done by 45, which makes even his taking of the oath of office an empty, null and void act. Will the U.S. win this battle with 45? I do see that every act that was done during the first 100 days will be individually challenged. So don't see a complete reversal of everything, but I do see individually each of the executive orders or things that were done during the first 100 days will be challenged. Now, eventually, this is all going to lead to what will be called in history here decertification. There's electronic election interference. He did not win. So all this is going to come down as an avalanche here. But in terms of, the first 45 days, the first 100 days, I see them individually challenged almost like one by one in various courts as we go through the years here. 11, on YouTube and elsewhere, there are all kinds of music based on different frequencies. Okay, to what extent does listening to this music actually have a real impact on our personal vibrations? So, in the same way that music resonates with everybody, everybody has certain tones or certain music that resonates with them. A lot of times they could be polyphonic tones, made up of several different tones, or harmonics. They'll resonate with you. So they'll give you cold chills. So this is true, but it's different for everybody. I know everybody's trying to like focus in on, is it 425 hertz? Is it 10 hertz? But the important thing is for you yourself to experiment with these things. See which one gives you a relaxing feeling. There are the things they call crystal bowls you can find at some of these fairs, and a lot of times you can make the bowl resonate. You can make the bowl resonate as you stand there. A lot of times people will try different frequencies and they really start resonating or getting cold chills. So the body does. Everything in the world resonates with what's called the natural frequency. Everything that's human, everything that's physical, even, machinery, everything has what's called the natural frequency. And that's that frequency that at very even low amplitude, they say that frequency will cause huge effects or huge amplitudes on that element. As a quick footnote, like a natural frequency in a mechanical device will be a frequency that you can transmit to that device. Let's say it's even a building, for example, at very low energy, but you can get the building to resonate and really start to shake. So in that way, I'm just drawing a parallel that even humans, everything has a resonant frequency. Experiment, try them out, and you'll find the ones that kind of give you cold chills or resonate with you. 10, what does the Vatican or celestial friends know about Jesus that was omitted or miscommunicated in the Bible? He actively worked with extraterrestrial groups, about a dozen extraterrestrial groups, for information he received on a very regular basis. Yeah. 9, insomnia is usually thought to have medical and or psychological causes, but lately I've been wondering if there's more getting in the way of sleep. Is it true that we visit the other side, even astral travel when we dream? Could it be with insomnia that we are being restricted from access to the other side for some reason? Insomnia, I'm not a doctor, but insomnia has many reasons. Some are emotional, some are physical, some are just having good practices before you go to bed. So I'm going to say in this particular area here, it really has nothing to do with astral travel per se, like whether you astral travel in your dream or not is affecting your insomnia. But in general, I'm going to tell you, I'm getting from my team, whoever asked this question, there are a variety of areas. And so we're kind of isolated. This is an emotional thing that I'm not dealing with. It's this bad sleep habits where I'm using a lot of electronic devices before I go to bed. Is the temperature wrong? So a lot of different factors here, but not necessarily related to astral travel creating insomnia. Okay. 8, many of the top brass of the military are either retiring or being let go and being replaced with 45 loyalists. Will the government at large and the military have a role in the AIMS strategy? If you're new to the channel, the AIMS strategy is a strategy that my angelic team offered up November of last year. A stands for analysis, I is investigation, M is movement, the military, S is separation. It's all about what's being happening within the 45 administration and with 45. So the question is, yes, there'll be many groups across government that are involved in the overall AIM strategy. I hope that helps. This information is meant to allow people an understanding of what's going on in the world without creating other difficulties for other people trying to carry out justice, if that makes sense. Okay. 745 has appealed the New York State Court $85.8 million defamation judgment of E. Jean Carroll to the U.S. Supreme Court. His attorneys say there was no police report, no investigation, no videotape, no witnesses or DNA evidence. Will the Supreme Court overturn the trial court's verdict on a technicality and how federal rules of evidence should have been applied? I see that in the long term, the E. Jean Carroll judgment will stand. So it's going to stand. I think that I understand the challenge here. It looks to me like whatever's going on here, this is all part of like dragging it out as long as you can so that E. Jean Carroll never gets paid. Now, she'll eventually get paid, but this is a strategy like drag it out for as long as you can. 6, I recently heard a woman say that the human race is enslaved to a group of extraterrestrials who created us and they keep us from progressing. She was here to help and encourage us to wake up to who we are. It was frightening to hear her talk about this and the abductions, etc. What is this all about? So there's no truth to any of these assertions. Yes, the Earth is a lab school. Yes, we were all star seeds. Yes, we were all deposited here by various extraterrestrial groups. Is this a prison? No, it's a school. Actually, everybody's here learning on an ongoing basis. You have free will, what you do here, and you have free will on the other side. So no, it's not a prison. They're not limiting our progression. They're actually helping with it. If you look for all the scientific advances and health advances, energy advances, space advances, they're helping to move us forward. So no truth to those direct assertions made in this question. 5, in the last couple of videos, you have acknowledged that the timeline has slowed due to free will and the 3 S's, speed, scope, and scale related to free will that are in effect. If this is correct, what's the current timeline feels like to them regarding 45 leaving DC and his administration being disbanded? So the fracture in the government and what's happening is starting right now. So my team has said this before. If you look at the AIM strategy, all these segments of the AIM strategy are now running in parallel. We're on top of the timing right now. So everybody, a little patience, allow things to work out. You're seeing various facets of government and the legal system and Epstein files and what's happening here starting to roll out. So allow this to take place. But yes, free will that everybody has in the universe controls speed, scope, and scale, affects everything so it breathes. We talk about the Akashic records and how they sit in a nonlinear time dimension. That means they breathe. They can speed up or slow down. But we're on top of all these things taking place right now. 4, recently I was overcome by an overwhelming feeling of love, of being loved. I've never felt anything like that before. It came on suddenly and lasted a little while. What was it? Where did it come from? Your angels and guides effectively walk through you. So that's what it feels like if they get really close to you or even walk through you. Some people can get absolutely like emotional if an angel or guide starts to walk through you. Remember, they're interdimensional. They can walk through spaces. They can walk through you. Almost feels like getting tickled on steroids. But yes, that's usually angels and guides coming in very close to you. And number 3, number 2, and number 1, I always take notes before we start these shows, so I'll read those back to you now. Number 3, do your extraterrestrial friends have anything they want to share with us? We are always in your line of sight for exerting positive changes on Earth as well as the universe. Do not fear life as you know it, but embrace the positive changes that we are all developing and are coming. 2, what do you see coming up next week? New GOP senator announcing they are stepping down. New Epstein file releases coming from offshore sources. Big avalanche of information. Military helicopter incident in the Middle East that reveals new insights regarding current military missions in the area. New soil samples from asteroids reveal new forms of ET life that exist unknown to scientists up to this point in time. New school shooting event that surprises authorities in the area and leads to convictions of police department personnel. I don't believe there's a large loss of life associated with this, but I do see this school shooting event. Significant health event for a member of Congress. Major high technology company failure and then subsequent restructuring. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. So, active week coming up. Number one in the countdown. Do you have anything your guides want to share? Keep knowing that everything you see and experience is part of your pre-designed life plan that will have a significant outcome for humanity that moves everything forward. On that note, that concludes the show that we're recording today on Saturday, the 15th of November, 2025. As always, if you'd like to join our Platinum membership, engage in live streams that I do, I answer a lot of personal questions for our Platinum members on Friday morning, Pacific time zone. Platinum membership always gives you access to hundreds of videos in the archive, including instructional videos. You can join our Platinum membership using the join button on the front page of our YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as the front page of our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. On that note, I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.